have finally made it to the Vermilion Valley Resort. This is campsite night 8, and I am at a hotel or motel at the VVR. But just so you know, there is a campground here as well, and you are able to hang hammocks, and I can show you that later this evening. Over here is the campground. So there are places to hang a hammock. I don't believe there's a cost to camp in here. It's free camping here. Let's see a little bit more of the campground. So they have some potable water. They really have everything that a backpacker needs, and so the store has those rehydrated meals, crackers, breakfast items. They have a lot of the small little camping gears, whether it's like tape or like gluco tape or moleskin, first aid type of stuff. And there's a restaurant that I'm looking forward to tonight, and just really everything to help you kind of reset like it's a town day. I'm treating it as a town day, and that's why I'm staying in the hotel. But it's like a town day here with the store and the restaurant and, having a private shower, bathroom. It has been great. So highly recommend VVR. Well, that's it for campsite night 8 here at VVR. So there are places to hang a hammock if you don't want to get a hotel room or one of these cabins or some other type of amenity they have here. You can hang a hammock in their campground, and it has water and all the resources that you're going to want to have if you want to make this a stop on your JMT trip. But that's going to do it for today, and we will see you at the next campsite. Here we are, campsite night number 9. So I am now back on the JMT, and I am around mile marker 84, and that puts me about, I think, 4.5 miles around the southern side of Silver Pass. So I'm going to tackle that tomorrow. So again, another great site for hammocks. He's got these great trees. So let me show you around a little bit. This is why I love hammock camping and finding campsite spots. And I know people will argue with me, it's probably easier for tent, but the tent site spots were all filled up, and and there were trees there too. But look at this. So I've got uneven ground, I've got rocks, I've got trees that one's higher than the other, but yet I still have my foot end a little higher and a perfect hang for sleeping tonight. So that is a definite bonus for the hammock camping. I will say that this campsite is dry, so I brought in some water. Although I'm going to show you a creek over here, and I think you could get access to it with a little work. On the Far Out app, it doesn't say that you can get water from here. So I have gotten water from like a mile before and brought it to camp. But I didn't need much because I'm so full and like cooking dinner anyway. But I'm going to show you that. So I think there actually even might be access to water here at this campsite. So you can see my hammock is right there. And I heard the sound of a creek. So right around these rocks down here is a creek. What I don't know is how easy it is to actually get down to the actual water. So let me go check that out. I would definitely say it's doable. There's some parts where it's too steep to actually go down and get to the water, but I think right here you could probably work down and get it. So the Far Out app has this listed as a dry campsite. But I think that would work. I would do that. I mean, I'm an old man. I'd go down there and get water. That would be no problem. There's the trail right over there. So there's tons and tons of trees for finding something that can work. Now typically I do like to have some clearing underneath me. I don't want it like, that. I don't want brush underneath. I want some type of clearing underneath me. So if I can find a campsite, I will use it. But this is a few times now where I didn't find a campsite and the trees have worked out great. So that's going to be it for campsite night number 9. Yeah, night number 9. And we will see you at the next campsite. Welcome, folks. It is campsite night 10, and we are at Duck Creek, which is at mile marker 68.9. And this is a pretty nice little spot as well, as they all are on the JMT. But let me show you around camp. So we have camp set up, and you can see I already have my tarp pitched pretty low because it is kind of windy out here. So I pitched it low and tight to kind of help block some of the wind when I'm in there. But yeah, 2 great trees for hanging a hammock, and it's gonna work out really well. But you can see there's other trees here as well. So the creek, it's a nice little waterfall. But the creek, Duck Creek, is right over here. The trail comes along here, and yeah, really good access to water. It's gonna be I think it's gonna be a good site. Let me take you down to the water source, as it is pretty nice. Really easy access. What I call, good sitting rocks you can sit on, soak your feet, get cleaned off really well. Beautiful little cascading falls, but just a great place to get your water as well as clean up for the evening. Well, that's going to do it for campsite night 10 here at Duck Creek, and we will see you at the next campsite. Here she is, all set up. Welcome to campsite night 11 on the JMT. I am at Minaret Creek at mile marker 54.6, and it's a pretty nice site. Let me show you around. So typical campsite, love it with the logs, giving you a place to sit, to eat. And here is my setup. Yeah, it's pretty nice. Got a couple of waterfalls down there I'll show you in a minute. That's my water source. But yeah, this is my hang. The trail is right over there, probably not even, 500 feet or so. So it makes for a great location for a little bit of privacy. Plenty of trees for hanging. Great water source, which I'll show you here in a minute. And yeah, it's going to be, should be a good campsite. This is Minaret Creek. This will be my water for the night. There's a nice little trail from my campsite. So there's my hammock, and then there's a little trail that comes down here, goes down to the water. Good, easy access to the water. Nice couple lovely waterfalls. That was my sitting rock for cleaning my feet, getting changed. And here is where I actually replenished my water, because I like having a flowing stream if I can. Well, that's going to do it for campsite night 11 at Minaret Creek, and we will see you at the next campsite. Campsite night 12 is here at Emerald Lakes at mile marker 42.8, and it's a little bit chilly today. It's been a cold day, but let me show you around. Here is camp for the night. I've got my tarp pitched fairly low because it's been really windy today, and so I've just been hunkered down trying to stay out of the wind. As you can see, it's a beautiful area. A lot of trees, potential for hanging hammocks. This is Emerald Lake and our view for the evening. Emerald Lake is also our access for water, so we do have to make one trip down there. I'm gonna go down there in a minute to get the water for dinner tonight. But what a gorgeous view. Here we are, down at Emerald Lake. So my preference is never really to get water out of a lake. I generally would prefer to get it from a moving stream. But I mean, this water looks clean. Sometimes it's just harder to scoop out what you need. But you know, it's gonna do. It's gonna do for me for the night. Let's get some water. Very tucked in from the trail. Nobody would even know I'm back here, so it's got good privacy. And a little nestle of trees to give me a little bit of protection. All right, that's gonna do it for campsite night 12 at Emerald Lakes, and we'll see you at the next campsite. This is my campsite for night 13 on the JMT. I am at Lyell Fork in Lyell Canyon at mile marker 27.5. Let me show you around. So obviously there's my hammock with my tarp pitched, and I have a nice little eating area. I always love it if I can get a log and some rocks or something for cooking and just relaxing there while I'm having my dinner. And then, you know, dinner with a view. Once I got down from Donahue Pass, it opened up to this beautiful little meadow area, and I've been walking next to this stream. And there's been hammock campsites available all along this stream. So anywhere here and back to Donahue Pass in that last 4 miles is going to be good for camping. I think if you get any closer to Tuolumne Meadows, I think there are restrictions in terms of not being able to camp in that area. But as you can see, there are just tons and tons of trees, and this is what it's looked like the last 4 miles of walking next to that stream. So plenty of good hammock camping once you come down from Donahue Pass. Trail is right there. So I'm a few hundred feet off of that. The water is not super close, but should be easy access to it. Yeah, this is the spot I'm looking for. Nice rock for sitting and cleaning and gathering some water, because you can tell on some of the banks here that it's not as easy access to water. So when I saw this little rock out here, I thought this would be a good place. Yeah, this stream meanders all the way down that way, and up there is where Donahue Pass is at. But this is the water source, so good water source for the campsite. Down that way is Tuolumne Meadows over there, all to the left. You can't see it from here, but I am tucked up in those trees. Yeah, I think this is going to be a good place, this Lyell Fork at mile marker 27.5. It's going to be a good place for hammock camping. So we will see you at the next campsite. She's gonna do. This is campsite night 14, and I am at Sunrise Lakes. Officially, I am not on the JMT. I am taking an alternate, but there is a Sunrise Lakes trail that connects the JMT to the Clouds Rest Trail, which I'll be doing tomorrow morning, and that's the reason I'm camping here tonight. But this place may be one of the best. Let me show you around. So here is my hammock. Nice setup. Great tree coverage. There's the trail. I mean, the lake. The lake is right there. It is spectacular. And there's campsites all along the lake that I saw, some social trails. So I came in on a trail that hugged that edge of the lake. Came around here and then actually goes up and out to the Clouds Rest. So let's go check out the water source. Really close. Yeah, I mean, you know me, I love my sitting rocks. I'm hoping to have dinner. I'm hoping to have dinner right there tonight. But just, you know, sitting here, cleaning my feet, my body from the day. Easy access to the water, and it is just stunning out here. The reason that I am, you know, taking this alternate is that I wanted to do Clouds Rest. And the JMT section of the trail goes through a burned area. And I saw that if I take this alternate route by the Sunrise Lakes, I can go by some scenic lakes and then climb Clouds Rest on the other side and then come down Clouds Rest to connect back with the JMT. And it's I think it's a more gradual ascent up to Clouds Rest as well. So I think it may be a little bit easier to hike up. So I thought it seems like a good option, and that's when I found this area, the Sunrise Lakes area for a camping, and it's nice. It really is. Once I left VVR, I took the ferry to get back on the JMT and began my ascent of Silver Pass. Here you hike alongside Mono Creek, where there are good campsites for hammock camping, starting at mile marker 84.2 and for the next mile as you enter Pocket Meadow. You will then climb a steep set of switchbacks, but then it levels off around mile marker 82.5, where you will find some decent hammock sites. At this point, you are beginning to get above tree line, and the options for trees get less and less. There are no more good hammock options until the other side of Silver Pass, including Silver Pass Lake, unfortunately. This is a beautiful area just before you make your final push up Silver Pass. As you are descending Silver Pass, I would say the next really good hammock option is around mile marker 77.3. From here, there is a 1 mile stretch that goes all the way down to the bridge that crosses over Fish Creek, where you should find good hammock options. Some will be better than others, but you should be able to make something work in this area. You will not have another pass across for the next 30 miles until you reach Donahue Pass. You will still have a few good climbs that need to be tackled, But my point in saying that is that trees are much more abundant during this stretch and hammock options become easier to find. Here are a few of my favorite areas in this section. The first good hammock option I want to point out is at Lake Virginia. And remember when I said you still had some good climbs? Well, hiking up to Lake Virginia is one of them. But this is a beautiful lake with several options for hammock camping. The best options are on the south side of the lake. There are a few hammock options as you hike to the north side of the lake, but the trees get less and less. Purple Lake is the next pretty lake that you will pass. There are some camping restrictions in this area, as are with most of these lakes, but if you are willing to go off trail a bit, then I think you could find some hammock options on the west side of Purple Lake. Then you have another good climb immediately out of Purple Lake, and then descend until you reach Duck Creek, where I camped for night 10. This is a great area if you can snag a spot. From Duck Creek, you gradually descend down over the next 10 miles until you reach Red's Meadow. Anywhere along this stretch, you should be able to find good hammock options. Plenty of good trees for hanging a hammock and good water sources along the way. After leaving Red's Meadow, I would say the next best hammock sites can be found around Minaret Creek. I will say that I didn't have any luck at Johnson Lake. There were good trees for hanging a hammock, but access to the water was not easy. This is why I hiked back to the water crossing of Minaret Creek, which have much better campsites for hammock camping. This was the day of the snow. The weather had been fantastic my entire trip up to this point, so I was thrown off a bit by the snow. This also was the day where I passed by several beautiful lakes, and most of them had good hammock options. But just remember to check the camping restrictions for each of these lakes as they are different. The snow started to really come down as I was hiking up to Gladys Lake and Rosalie Lake. There are a few good hammock options here, but not that many. Then I descended to Shadow Lake. The snow eased up a bit when I hiked by Shadow Lake, and I noticed that there were good hammock options starting west of the lake around mile marker 48.2 and continued for a 2-mile stretch just before you get to that small ridge when you get your first glimpse of Garnet Lake. In hindsight, I wish I would have stopped here for the day instead of pressing on to Emerald Lake, but my hope was that I would find something around Garnet Lake, which I didn't. Garnet Lake has strict camping restrictions. I believe you can't camp within a quarter mile of the lake. Anyway, that didn't really matter because I didn't find any good options for hanging a hammock. That's why I wished I would have camped just south of Garnet Lake so I could have experienced it in better weather. Garnet Peak was covered in clouds. The wind was gusting up to 50 miles per hour, and I just didn't get to enjoy this lake, which was one of the lakes I was looking forward to most. This and Thousand Island Lake. So I continued hiking past Garnet Lake until I reached Ruby Lake, where I found the next good hammock option. There are a few good hammock options for hammock camping at mile marker 43.1, but not a ton of options here, and they were all occupied when I hiked past this area. Then I arrived at Emerald Lake, where I did camp for the night. And this is a beautiful spot for camping. Still not a ton of options in this area, but a few more than Ruby Lake. And I did find a small grove of trees several hundred feet off the trail and was able to make something work. Thousand Island Lake was only a half-mile over a ridge, but I wanted to save that for tomorrow morning. The next morning, I hiked by Thousand Island Lake, and it is beautiful. I loved watching the sunlight hit the top of the mountains as the sun rose that day. But there aren't really any good hammock options in this area. There is one spot that is off trail and a quarter mile away from the outlet that might have worked, and I would have checked it out the day before if there had been better weather, but I'm not sure if a hammock would work in that area or not. But I sure would have tried. The next best hammock options are after Thousand Island Lake as you begin to climb Island Pass and to the base of Donahue Pass around mile marker 39.1. You might find a few good options after this section before you begin the steep part of the climb up Donahue Pass, but the trees become more sparse. After Donahue Pass, there is a good hammock campsite at mile marker 34 next to a lake feeding off of Lyell Fork Creek. But after that, you begin to descend rapidly until you reach Lyell Meadow. Once you hit the meadow, this is a beautiful 4-mile stretch hiking alongside the Lyell Fork Creek next to the meadow. There are plenty of hammock options during this section of trail. Now we are in the final stretch as I approach my last campsite for my JMT thru hike. There is a backpacker campground in Tuolumne Meadows at mile marker 22.5, which would be fine for hammock camping, but it was closed for renovations when I hiked past this area. But it is a great area with a store, post office, restrooms, and a grill, which was also unfortunately closed when I was there. The next good hammock option would be at Upper Cathedral Lake. From here, there is a 3-mile stretch as you descend into Long Meadow, where you will find plenty of hammock options. It was at mile marker 13 where I took the Sunrise Lakes Trail as an alternate to the JMT to access the Clouds Rest Trail, which I would hike the next day. And there are great hammock options at either Upper Sunrise Lake or Lower Sunrise Lake if you were to decide to follow this same route. But as far as continuing on the JMT, you hike through a recovering burn area, so I'm not sure about the status of the trees in this area. I would say the next best hammock options would be at the Clouds Rest Junction at mile marker 6.5 all the way to Little Yosemite Valley Camp at mile marker 4.6. After this, there are no more camping options until you reach the Yosemite Valley at the Backpackers Campground. Well, that's going to do it for my hammock guide on the JMT. As you can see, I had no problem at all using a hammock. There was not one night where I struggled finding a place to hang my hammock. And a lot of people say that the southern end is probably the most difficult end of trying to find a place to get a hammock. And I didn't think that was true. There was Crabtree Meadows, there was Wallace Creek, there was Vedette Meadow. And because what I noticed is that every time you come off a pass, you come down into a valley with a good set of trees. Now, it may take you a while to get down there and you need to plan your miles, but I had no problem at all finding a campsite with trees. In fact, I would say probably a third of my campsites, I have to go back and count, wasn't even an established campsite. And to me, that was one of the advantages of having a hammock, is that if I had water was the key. If I had water and I could have some protection from getting out of the wind, that was the key for me. And that's where I could set up, as long as I had 2 trees. Well, I hope that you found this helpful. I hope you found that it answered any questions you might have about possibly trying to hammock the JMT and if it was possible or not. And, my hope is that it will encourage other people to hammock camp the JMT. Because I'll tell you, when I'm, as I was hiking, I ran into a few people. And when they hear that I am a hammock camper, they're like, "What? Really? The JMT? How'd you do that? Especially the southern end. What did you do?" And people were just shocked. They were. I haven't seen another person out here who is hammock camping. I think people just think that it's not possible to hammock camp. But it is. It's not only possible, it's easy to do. It's very very easy to manage your trip in a short period of time like mine, 15, 16 days, or if you wanted to extend it out to 20 plus days. I think you can easily find campsites for hammock camping. Well, I hope this helps, and I will see you on the next hammock video. So even though I never saw people hammock camping, people look at me like, hammock camping, what are you doing? How are you doing that? It's really not an issue at all. It's very easy. If you want to hammock camp at JMT, it's very easy.